Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call to order the Town of Swanton Selectboard meeting. It is Tuesday, July 21st, 7 p.m. Start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda review, David?
Nothing.
Okay. James?
I'm good.
Heather?
I don't know where to go, but I have a little piece of paper about an idea about having a dress code. And I didn't have enough paper.
Heather, I can't hear you.
I can't hear either, so.
I made a little idea of a dress code for the employees for a municipality, and I thought I would just share that, but I don't know where that would go.
What I think we should do with that, and I'll let other board members comment as they want, is I think we should pass that around, but we should bring it up as an agenda item to work at the next meeting, and everyone gets a chance to look at it, comment on it, and then
That sounds good to me.
go from there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So you can pass it around to us, I would say just unofficially tonight, and then David, you take it as an agenda item for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Anything else, Heather?
That's it for me tonight.
Thank you. Gary, anything to add to the agenda?
No, I'm good.
Mark?
No additions.
Kathy?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, under D, I'm gonna add 1B, the July 7th, 2020 Alley Drive site visit. There were minutes taken of that, so we'll approve those separately from the board minutes. I don't have any other changes. I was expecting a few more folks here tonight, watching what was going on some social media and some different emails we received. I was trying to get some feel of the number of people who might do public comment. It's not to stifle public comment, but it was trying to decide how many minutes per person it would be. And I had a fairly, I won't say long, but opening statement I was going to use, but I don't see any need to. We have 4 people who want to speak. I don't see at this point that there should be any time limit. I would just ask that public comment is public comment. It's not debate time. It's not time to ask questions of the board. If you got an issue with the board, state what that issue is, and we can take a look and we can decide whether we're going to put it on the next meeting or something like that. But we're not, during public comment, going to get into debate, because that's not how this should really work. If there's an issue we need to bring up, we put it on the agenda for the next meeting. The public gets a chance to see that agenda, and they can decide whether to attend the meeting and comment, and then we get a chance to take a look at that issue and to work that issue. So if everyone's good with that, I'd like to go ahead and get started. Board members? Roger George, Town of Swanton. Actually, everybody's from Town of Swanton, so I'm not going to repeat that. Good evening, Roger.
Thank you. I assume I should stand to greet the assemblage. I'm a resident of the town of Swanton since April 2007. I live on the Bay area of McQuam Shore Road. I'm here tonight as a concerned resident regarding the deplorable water conditions that us approximately 20 families in the Bay Area experience day to day. There's considerable muck in the water. That's not a real positive term, but better than some of my neighbors describe it. There's considerable odor to the point that folks don't wish to sit or dine outdoors. We believe that there's hazardous conditions to humans and animals wading in the water, or most don't go out in the water anymore. And we're aware of certain possible health concerns such as ALS, and Parkinson's disease from blue-green algae, where that is possible. I certainly understand your point that this isn't a forum for debating here this evening, but I'm here personally and eventually to represent a number of my neighbors to say that we strongly believe that this long-standing condition needs to either be fixed to some measure, or in the alternative, if we have to continue to believe that there's no fix, then don't charge us the same premium property assessment that uniformly is in place along the McQuam Shore Road. I have been discussing all of this with neighbors the past number of years, and finally, as a retired gentleman, finally have thought that I should do more than just complain to neighbors. I reached out to the town administrator this morning, and we will be meeting tomorrow. I appreciate that. I also reached out to the town lister, who said, yes, I can meet with you in 10 minutes. And I know that it would take me longer than 10 minutes to brush my teeth and get my socks and shoes on. So I said, I'll need a little bit more, and he said that was possible. But he came out, and I'm appreciative of that, and he also saw the conditions. Interestingly, and if I hope I'm quoting you correctly, sir, you said that having grown up on a farm, that you thought the conditions smelled and looked like a pond near a farm. And while I can appreciate that, my premium property assessment on McQuam Shore is not immediately farm territory, but rather a location not in direct contact with the farm, and a situation that we can no longer invite children and grandchildren to our house. So the suggestions have been made to reach out to the town health officer and the Department of Natural Resources, I believe. Sir, I did call those and
I would just second, sir, I don't want to interrupt, but please take one of these seats. We're trying to keep everybody at the 6 feet separation. We got 2 seats left.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I had either phone or email contact with those organizations today, and will continue to do so, but I wanted to alert the select board to our concerns. I understand that one of my neighbors had sent a note to select board members earlier today. I'd be glad if you would allow to respond to that note, attaching a couple pictures of our water, and again, I appreciate the lister coming out today, because I think you need to see and experience the fragrance of the conditions that we face. Something needs to be done, or if something can't be done, please give us your consideration for changes in how that property is assessed. So that's my message this evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Roger. Again, what we said in public comments, not going to be a back and forth. I would ask the board members if they're interested or not. I think we should invite A&R to come up and brief us on what their plan is for the lake. We have not only McQuam Bay, we also have Missisquoi Bay, which are assets that affect a lot of Swanton residents, and I think it would be worthwhile to invite them up and tell us what their plan is, and maybe take them out there before they brief us on what their plan is. they've gotten a lot of money over the years. Senators brought lots of money in to work on the lake and have not seen a big improvement out there, but I throw that out to the board, and I don't know if anyone has any objections to that, as we
No, I-
get a briefing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important for us as well to take a look, to see what's out there. I'm more than willing to go down and take a look. Certainly believe you, but for me to see it, it makes it easier for me to understand what you're going through. So I'd be willing for that.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
David, you take that as an action item? Invite somebody from water quality? Does that sound like a beginning anyway?
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right. Sandy,
Thank you for speaking.
you're next on the list.
So I'm here tonight to let folks know about a few things that are going on. There are a couple of book discussions that are happening around these issues. One is white fragility, and Caleb, is that you? So it may or may not be at the library.
Oh, we got it a couple of days ago, so yes, it is.
Okay.
It's
good.
also available online too.
Good. And also, just here because I do believe if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I've been reading books on racism for over 30 years. And I didn't understand what institutional racism was until actually I've been reading books for a long time. It's hard to understand. So just for my point of view, and everyone has a different one, but for me, institutional racism isn't about individuals. It isn't about good people and bad people. It's about policies, and it's about white privilege. And I didn't realize the white privilege I had until I read many books and realized that institutional racism started with the Constitution. And I think it's mainly out of our awareness, we people who are white, and it's not intentional. And as our governor says about COVID and wearing masks, it's about education, and it's about changing hearts and minds. So I hope folks will let the library know if they're interested in the book discussion. And there are many, many books. This could be the first of many for folks who are interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. There are some other actions being taken as well. Like I said, I had a pretty long statement, but seeing as...
Would you share some of that with us?
Well, one thing I said is tonight, we're not here to debate whether or not there's racism in the Swanton community. Like all communities in our country, there's no doubt it exists. And there's no doubt there are biases, both conscious and unconscious, that we all have and that we can all do better to counter. And we have some people working on that right now. And we're looking at some different training opportunities, and we'll get the word out. We don't have a lot of fidelity right now, but it's an area we're going to do better at.
Right.
And that's kind of where I want to leave it, because I don't want to be too much a part of the public comment period, as I stated at the beginning, but I just want people to know that it's going to be a work in progress right now, and we're going to do better.
And I would just add to that we have had offers from folks to come and to facilitate public forums.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that'll happen as well.
I think it will. All right, Nicole?
I'll pass my time on to somebody else. I wasn't sure that they wanted to speak yet.
Okay, no problem. Al?
Yeah, my name is Al Kinzinger. I've been in the community for a few years. And actually, I spent most of my adult life here in Swanton. And the decisiveness that's amongst the community now, it's just not a good thing. I think the energy that's being expended either one way or the other in this social media can be put to a lot better uses. The enhancement program is taken off in Swanton. The energies could be put to that. There's the improvements that have been made in Swanton Town over the years, the last 40, 50 years. It's unbelievable. We're only on the upward swing all the way. But now this, I don't know, this movement is, to me, it's tearing us apart. We're not the community that we should be, or we can be. Like you say, we all have a lot to learn about racism. Fortunately, I've been around the country quite a bit. I've seen, worked with different ethnicities, and I think if we put all these energies together, that we can bring Swanton back to where it should be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Al. You folks came in, we had people signing up, so under public comment, would you like to make a comment or not? Just want to give you the opportunity. You didn't get a chance, so I won't be calling your name without even know, but I got the list before you signed in, so
Okay.
I offer that up.
Sure. My name is Priscilla Connolly, and we moved to town, both my husband and I moved here in October of 2019. So part of us being here is that we do want to be part of the town and supporting the town, and we want to understand how things are running. We had seen the art boards and thought it was amazing. We just were so thrilled that they existed, and shortly, and we started riding our bikes in March because of COVID. And so we sort of were kind of seeing them, and then, you know, the one that we had seen was the two hands intertwined in front of the salon, and then that was gone. And so we got curious. We wanted to understand what was happening and how the art boards worked. So somebody sent us the trustees meeting, I think, and we heard it, and it was disheartening. And we couldn't believe that the boards were coming down so quickly. We also didn't understand how much conversation it had, and we felt we were new, and we just had to learn more and understand and talk to the Arts Council, be here, be at the trustees meeting. So I think we're just here to learn, and we want to be supportive. We believe in the, art boards. It's a way to express. And obviously we're talking that two people talk about, and yourself about the importance of us learning more and growing more and being a healthier community. So I would like to be part of that.
Excellent.
And I think my husband would too.
Welcome to Swanton.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Did you say anything?
And again, because of the short list, going once, going twice on public comment. All right, thank you very much, folks. And no one reminded me that I skipped over the approval of the meeting minutes, so July 7th, 2020, Select Board regular and teleconference meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the July 7th Select Board regular and teleconference meeting minutes?
I'd just like to say that was a lot of words, and Elizabeth did an amazing job. Thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. July 7th, 2020, Alley Drive site visit. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Under law enforcement.
Is that something we want to explain a little bit?
What?
That we're-
Alley Drive?
Yeah,
We actually have Alley Drive under 4A.
okay, I see that. I'm on the wrong page. I'm looking at public comments, and then it's going to law enforcement.
That's what we're gonna go to law enforcement. I did public comment. We just had people speaking.
You skipped over the minutes.
Accepting the minutes
I got it backwards and no one reminded me. See, when I did a teleconference, I couldn't screw up too bad last time, but Mark isn't keeping me.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
Okay. So under law enforcement, it's really two announcements. The Swanton Animal Control Officer and First Constable resigned. And we are gonna put out information and ask people if they're interested in filling the vacancy. I'll give David the floor in just a minute, and he can talk a little more about the process. Then the Swanton Town Health Officer and Deputy Health Officer, they both resigned, and we are gonna have a process for filling those vacancies as well. Those are part-time positions. There's usually not a lot of people lining up out the door to fill them. Animal control officer, people usually don't call you up and say their dog's in a good mood. It's some type of issue that they're asking you to take care of. So it takes a special person to do that. But looking out at Channel 15 there, public access, really hope someone will step up because there is a need in the community for that position. And actually for the health officer as well. We've had the health officer giving us quarterly reports, and you can see some of the things that have to be looked into and taken care of. So anybody interested, please get us the information. David, you got anything to add?
Okay, I'll go over all three positions. So first, with the animal control officer, as Joel mentioned, it is a difficult job. Always dealing with usually a couple of pets somewhere in the town. The animal control officer only deals with dogs, no other animals. And typically, probably the most common occurrence that the person has to deal with is what are called dogs at large. Either they escape from their home, or the owners just let them out and roam freely, and they're the ones that usually cause problems in other people's yard. This Monday, I had a call from a resident of Middle Road who said that on Saturday, one of his neighbors let their 3 pit bulls out and they attacked him in his yard. He got trapped in his garage and he had to fend them off with a hoe. He hit one of them with a hoe and it ran, then the other 2 took off. And before that, they went after his wife on the porch.
You're really selling it, isn't it? You're selling it like a horrible
Well,
story.
people need to know what they're in for. It's not sugarcoated because it's a difficult job. We have people sitting at the table here who have dealt with it in the past. So if someone wants to apply for that, they need to know what they're getting into. It also requires getting 3 sets of rabies vaccine shots that the town pays for. They're expensive shots, but the person who does that job has to get them for their own protection in case they get bitten by a rabid dog. Right now, I'm putting together a job description for it that'll cover all the aspects of what the person who does that has to encounter. And it'll be on the town website this week. That vacancy is open right now. So as soon as someone reads the ad for it and wants to apply, they just send in a letter of interest on why they would like to do that job. The constable position is really, for the town, it's a do-nothing position. Constables in Vermont have no authority like the police do to arrest people or give tickets, anything like that that would entail enforcement. Basically what it is they serve as a contact person for lawyers and others who need to have process served on someone. And they contact the constable, and they pay the constable. The town does not pay the constable anything. And then they serve the process on someone, and that's it. The lawyer pays them. And I'm not even sure if the town really needs that position since it's really not doing anything for the town, but that's for the board to decide. With regard to the health officer, the current health officer is resigning effective August 1st, and as well as the deputy health officer. The town needs to have a health officer appointed under state law. the town select board recommends someone for that job to the state health department. And then the state health department is the department that actually appoints the person. It's for a 3-year period. And they essentially take care of anything in the town that might be complained about that's unhealthy. One exception is single-family residences. They don't have authority to deal with those apartments. Any multi-family type of housing they can deal with if there are issues there. The one exception with a single-family home would be if the party was doing something that caused a public nuisance. In other words, if someone was burning garbage in their yard and was spraying out, the odor was going all over the neighborhood, and they would have the authority to deal with something like that because it was creating a public problem. Most of the time, it deals with housing conditions that are substandard and threatening to the occupants of the building that are renting that building. And they take care of those situations. They can enforce the state's housing code. There's specific laws in place that give the health officer direction on what they can enforce in a community. And as I said, it's a state-appointed position, so the state controls most of what a health officer can do. And as I mentioned, that will be coming open after August 1st. That is part-time, both that and the animal control are part-time. And so the person that is appointed to it by the state usually has a full-time job somewhere and does this on part-time when we have spare time available. It requires site visits to inspect what is happening on the property, and then they have to write up a report on that afterwards. And they have the authority to fine people also in certain circumstances. So if anyone is interested in that, they should just, even right now, if you were interested, before there's a job description up, you can send a letter of interest to the select board via my office, and that will get sent to the select board. At some point, if we get multiple applications, the board would review them and possibly call some applicants in for an interview, and then decide who to recommend to the state to be appointed to that vacancy. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and just watch the town website's employment page. In the next, within the next week, there'll be some announcement up there for that. I talked to a lady at the Department of Health today, and she told me that they would let the town know that this was coming open, even though we already know, and ask for someone to be appointed to it. And she told me that in the case that we don't find someone by August 1st, and it automatically reverts to the chair of the board, so I'm sure we'd like to get
That's why I had to put my mask on, so you wouldn't see my facial expression.
So in both the animal control and the health officer get a small stipend per month for the work they do. It's not an hourly job, it's a flat payment that the board would decide on when they hire someone new. The previous health officer was doing the work for 34 years, but he and his wife sold a house here and moved to Franklin, so he's further away now. It's a little more difficult to do the work. So anyway, those are those two, and anyone's interested, if you have more questions, you can call me and I'll try to answer them as best I can. There is a website, the town, the state Vermont Department of Health has a website. If you go on that and just kind of fish around a little, you'll find a section that deals with town health officers, and there's a very detailed description of what town health officers do on their website, if you're curious. So that is going to be the basis of whatever ad I write up for it.
Thank you, David, and what we'll do is we will keep those ads running until we fill the position. We won't set a date right now. We'll just keep them rolling until we fill the positions. Board members, any comments, questions?
I just wanted to say, it's kind of, they are part-time, so people probably have full-time positions aside from that. So with the health officer, you could just make a connection with the people that you need to see at any time that's flexible for you. Somebody was asking about the position, and he asked that question. And I said, I think you could just go after you get out of work and meet up with them, but I think the ACO position is more of an immediate, how does that work if you're at work?
We've always had it, anyone we've had in the past while I've been on board, it's always worked full-time. And you have to kind of work around it during the day if there's a loose dog or something. That sometimes it can be difficult, but we understand that, you know, it's not a high-paying job. You're not gonna make a living off of it, so you obviously have to have a full-time job. For most people, we had some retired people at one time, so it wasn't such a big deal, but.
So it's flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the previous ACO had a full-time job.
Yeah,
and
no, and
he
we
would go
understand that.
Look into it after, and people
Yeah.
take pictures and so on,
Yeah.
and try to piece together what they could to remedy the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually it's a dog at large, as I mentioned, and so even if they went immediately, they might not find the dog, so they can wait and later check it out. Sometimes if it's a loose dog, it goes home, or someone may find it, hold it for a while until the ACO can come and get it.
Or sometimes the lucky person on the board that oversees the animal control has to go help during the day too, so.
That too.
And so they just send you a letter of intent,
Oh, interest,
letter of interest.
right.
Better interest, yeah.
And then check within the next week for a more detailed description of the dogs.
Okay, and then you email town admin.
Yeah, it's on the town website on the directory page.
Email David.
Thank you. Okay.
Anything else?
Nope, nothing on that one.
All right. 4A, discuss request for town to accept Alley Drive as a town road. Last meeting, prior to the meeting, several board members went and took a look, a site visit out there. I did not attend the site visit. I've been out there a few times previously. I was in quarantine, that is why I didn't go. So I open up the discussion to the board members. And I'll give Albert a chance to say something in a minute if he wants. What I included in the package, and I don't see my copy right now, but here it is I did, a couple years ago, I mentioned it previously, I did do a piece of paper which listed possible private roads that people might come to us and ask us to take them over. We don't need to spend any time discussing those, I just give them to you for reference. There is one of these that we went and actually did a site visit and talked about some things that needed to be improved, and there's been no action for almost 2 years on that one. The rest of them right now have not come before us other than Alley Drive. Total mileage for the first 4 is about 0.8 of a mile. And there's 2 or 3 others after that. But anyway, I wanted you to at least be aware of that. So there are some others out there. I don't think they're coming to us anytime soon, but just to be aware, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 others besides Alley Drive. Some of them are not even, don't even have asphalt, so, you know, they're not even close to coming here, but just for an awareness. So I open up the floor to the board members that went, if they have any comments, and then I'll make a few comments, and we can decide what our next steps are or aren't, so.
Well, I think for me, I had some concerns going down there and seeing a couple of things that got my concerns of if we could. Obviously, it's a sharp corner. Once you pull in, you're taking that first left. It's a very tight corner for the plow to maneuver that. And then possibly down and around, I will say that the grassy knoll, how many times would the plow have to come around that? The infrastructure underneath the pavement, I think it's more maybe along Joel's area of knowledge. You know, how well is that underneath there? How well is it gonna hold up? I don't know. Them were my two biggest concerns. Is it doable? Possible, but them, for me, were my eye openers of concern. So I think, you know, I don't know much more about it. I mean, you've looked at some maps, but for me, it's possible, but I'm just, that's my concern of the plow going around there. How are they gonna maneuver that tight corner if they've got the side down, the front down, or do we go down with a small 150 and do that? What's the time to do that it's gonna take? So that's me.
Gary?
Just reading these 7 site visit comments on the paper and covered everything that we talked about that night.
Okay. Heather?
Okay. Well, every time I had a question, they had already spoke to you about that, Joel, and Sue, I think you did a really good job beforehand, kind of explaining things and how it worked. And so I thought that was really helpful, even though you weren't able to attend, you were able to, you know, remotely answer questions. My only concern, other than, you know, another road to plow, but I was concerned about the sidewalk needing to be plowed by us as well, because getting a sidewalk plow out there would be challenging. And they did agree that they would take care of that themselves. So that was, I know you guys know more about the road. And it sounded like, I don't know how to explain it, but all the questions I had about what the material is made out of and stuff like that, you answered all of the, how it would have to be done up to spec. And they agreed to do that too, right? So I was happy with what you guys have discussed, and I was happy with the sidewalk not being an issue of ours. And, I thought it was a fair, when it came down to it, as long as they are able to bring it up to code, so that, is that the right word?
Yeah, up to standard.
Up to standard, thank you. I'd be happy with that.
In some places, it could be called a code, so you're correct.
Okay, good. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, thank you, Heather. James?
Yeah, I wasn't there, of course, for the meeting, but I have been down in that development before. I haven't been in there since they finished the last loop around the far side, but I guess my only concern would be is us plow trucks plowing down there. A lot of those condos don't really have a driveway. They park right there, and then it's part of the road almost. Where's all the snow gonna go when you go down through there, that big plow and plow? And then someone's gonna be bitching because we plowed their car in. And, I mean, you can only push the snow so many places. It's not like a normal house that has a driveway. And then you got your sidewalks are right up against the road too. And then you're gonna be pushing snow up on the sidewalk.
That was
I don't
discussed,
know.
wasn't
I
it?
think it's a tough spot.
I'm sorry?
Did you have I don't mean to interrupt. Did you have more to say?
Yeah. That would be my concern. I don't know how the town guys feel about it, but, our highway department, but.
Yeah, I'll get.
That would be my concern. I just don't know where you're gonna put the snow when you're going, obviously you're gonna go one way, turn around, come back the other way. You push up and along all those condos, there's no place to put snow. So then they're gonna have to have someone remove the snow out of their driveway.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Do you have more?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Al, do you want to comment at all on snow removal?
Yes, my understanding, the condominium association has decided that they would like to have the town go through and plow the roadway, and that they would take care of, through a separate contractor, go through and have the driveways cleaned and sidewalks. And I believe that's already been addressed by the association. So they don't expect that you're going to clean out by the driveways, and that they know that that's going to have to be taken care of by a separate subcontractor.
Okay.
And there was another.
Where was the pile of snow gonna go?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember where the snow was gonna go?
Well, a lot of the snow, to my understanding, with the present contractors, they put right in front of the last building as you come around the curve to the right.
Yeah,
There's
that's
quite a
right.
bit of land there, and the snow can be placed there. Also, after, I think it's the first 3 buildings, between the 3rd and 4th building, there's a fair amount of area that can be put there. that's going to be put there.
It's going off to the right hand side.
So there's plenty of room. It has not been a problem to date in terms of finding a place for the snow. The biggest issue will be for them will be, once the plow comes through, there's going to be snow behind some of these cars, but they're not supposed to be parking in their driveway, they're supposed to be parking in the garage. And there are some parking spaces, those would be more of a problem for them to clean out, but they're aware that that could be an issue.
Okay. We'll just figure out. what
But
to do.
they still would like to have the town do the roads.
Yeah.
And the issue about the preparation of the roads, I had called Joel about the fact that, well, when we took over the project, the fellow who was pretty much running it since passed away. And but we were partnered with him, so I knew that they had the fabric and the different soils, and I remember that he was discussing that being an issue. However, we don't have the verification, which you mentioned by an engineer. So I proposed to get around that, we could do some pouring or even some digging along the side, because obviously the fabric is going to be wider than the exact pavement area. And we'd be willing to do that, and if you should decide that, let us know how many cores you want or diggings, and well, we would arrange for that. Also, too, we'd like to give some direction here fairly soon, because summer's coming on. We'd like to get this done before the winter, because these tenants have been these pieces of road for several years just because of the sales, and now we're ready to go through and put our final code on there. And we just wanted to check with you first before we put the final code as to what you would expect.
Okay, thank you, Albert. All right, I'm gonna put on the road commissioner hat for just a minute, and then I'll come back as the chair of the select board. But as the road commissioner, I will tell you that the co-foremen are not that interested in taking over that job of maintaining the road and plowing the snow. As the road commissioner, I will tell you, at the end of the main plow routes, they come back and they get the 1 ton, and they go down to do Covey Drive. So this is very close to Covey Drive. So it's not gonna add a big burden to the plow routes. It will be later in the course of doing the plowing that they would get to that. So that would not necessarily, the people down there might not like that quite as much. It takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to get through the plow route. So it would be toward the end of the plow route when they would get down there to move that snow, just because they're gonna change trucks. I got 4 people who go out and drive, and one of them would go back to the garage and get a different truck that's smaller and go down there to do that plowing. So I just wanna throw that out there if we do it, so that kinda gets into, we don't even go in there with a single axle, is my understanding.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of, I want to let you know what the co-foreman think. I told them today I was going to discuss it tonight, and again, I know they're hesitant, but that's okay. We as a select board can make a decision, and then we'll go with it one way or another. Anything we do there needs to be in a formal agreement with somebody, and I think it's the homeowners association, so it's very clear what we are or are not going to do in that area, because as we discussed a couple meetings ago, the storm drain is very deep, so we don't want to be maintaining that. If something happens, that would be up to the homeowners to pay for that repair, very expensive repair that's going to open up the road quite wide. May not happen for 20 years, everything installed properly may not be an issue, and it's plastic pipe, which should last a long time. The sidewalk, I'm not interested in taking over plowing down there, assuming the road all gets fixed. Not interested in plowing down there until that sidewalk is raised to the same level as that curb. I think that's a safety issue there, and I don't want one of our plow drivers to hit somebody who stumbles on that curb and goes into the middle of the road. Probably never happen, but I'm very sensitive to sidewalks where they're 4 or 5 inches below the curb, and I know I expressed that concern when I was down there, that is something that, if we go down that route, and part of an agreement would be, is that sidewalk gets raised, could be asphalt, doesn't have to be concrete, but to me, it's a safety issue, and I throw that out there for the board to be aware of. I have no problem going down there with the co-foreman and saying, look, here's where we want some cores done. We see the results of the cores and then say, this is what needs to be done before we take over the maintenance of the road and the plowing of the road, because asphalt, 12 to 15 years after it's placed, it's gonna need to be fixed again. That's just how asphalt works, even sooner if the base isn't very good. So it does become a burden on us. We do have taxpayers down there, 36 units if I remember right. There's 36 units down there. So if they repair it up to standards and we take it over, you know, we shouldn't have to put a lot of money other than the plow time to take care of that for several years. Again, we don't do the storm drain if we're in agreement, and we don't do the maintenance and or the clearing of the sidewalks. So that's kind of my take. To me, it's a several step project. Is one, preparing an agreement. First thing is getting some cores done and getting working on trying to get that up to standard. But we still have to sign an agreement if we're gonna go forward.
Is there water and sewer lines underneath that road anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
There is. So we need some kind of agreement on that also.
That should be.
Well, I just bring it up because obviously Covey Drive is 50, 60 years old, whatever it is. We've had issues with that because we take the road, maintain the road, and they've had problems with the water and sewer lines over there, and they've had to fix the problem because they're tearing up our road to fix it. So the homeowners would be responsible if something ever happened down the road, if they had to maintain a line in there.
Yeah, good point, James. That would have to be part of that same agreement.
Yeah.
Storm drain, the water,
Yeah.
and the sanitary sewer
Yeah.
should all be items that we don't take over. We don't own any water lines anyway.
That's right.
The village does. That's something to work with the village and maybe get them to take over the water and the sewer lines. But anyway, so to me, the first steps is if we're going to do it, and it takes a vote of at least 3 here, is to work on an agreement, and 2, to have the highway and the road commissioner, the highway co-foreman and the road commissioner go out and point out probably 5 to 6 places the core, so we can see what that road is made of, if we're gonna go forward with it. I don't know why, but I actually am a proponent of going forward with it.
You're right.
I'm a proponent of going forward with it.
Okay.
We do take care of Covey Drive. It's a very similar situation. I'm not, you know, it's, to me, it's the right thing if it's brought up to standard. I guess I'm gonna leave it at that. So that's my thoughts.
I think if the core simples are fine to come back, I'd be willing to set that agreement up as well. But I just want to make sure that what's underneath there is structurally okay. So,
Yeah, that would be part of the agreement. We start writing the agreement that way, but we get the cores going, so if we don't delay, exactly what you're trying to accomplish is get that up to speed before winter.
Can I add a couple things?
Absolutely.
You talked about the sidewalk, and we figured we'd be bringing that up, so that's a non-issue in terms of how to negotiate. I mean, we're gonna do it. So you mentioned that the first time, and we agree with you. We're gonna go ahead and raise that up. It's a pavement now. We're gonna bring that pavement up and incline it so that the water goes more towards the grass than towards the roadway.
Perfect. No, you guys have been very, very good, very easy to work with. And, yeah, again, we just put it in an agreement so all sides understand that that's what we're doing and what the limitations are. So 5 years down the road, when it's different people sitting here possibly, someone says, oh yeah, let's look at the agreement.
Can I answer another point? The coring, but you talk about the people from the roadway doing it. Is that something you do?
We're not gonna do the cores, we're just gonna come out and say, these are the locations we'd like to see.
I see,
cored.
okay, and then we'll find a private contractor to get in there and do the coring.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm on board with it as long as we have an agreement to, like the things we discussed about the road, make sure we have a plan in place.
Okay, David, you got something?
Yeah, there's one more critical step. In order to get this on the state's town road list as an official town road, There's a process that the select board has to go through after they meet all the requirements Joel just mentioned to you, the core samples and all. The select board has to hold a public hearing. They have to do another site visit at that point and then hold a public hearing to accept that as a town road. And that requires having a survey of that road and the core samples, engineering core samples, and whatever else they've listed as part of the agreement. That information, including copies of all the minutes, the public hearing notice and so forth, goes to the V-Trans, the Transportation Department. And then they approve, they have to, if it meets their requirements, then they approve it as a town road, and they give it a town highway number. And that makes it an official town road, and it also helps the town because all of the town roads, the mileage of them is calculated every year to determine how much grant money the town gets from V-Trans to help fix up roads within the town. So I realize that's just a short road, but every little bit adds up, and then the town will get credit for that.
Our intent would be to go in and make sure that what we plan to do is acceptable to the town. When it actually gets approved is, could be this winter, next year, whatever. But we don't want to finish the paving and find out that that's not what you wanted.
Right.
So that's why we figured this is the time to do.
No, there's no problem with timetable.
So what we probably would do is see about getting that coring done as soon as possible. And then by the end of the summer, have that paved. And then the mechanics of getting it actually accepted, as long as it's to your specifications, the actual process of getting it accepted is something that could follow later. We expect it probably would.
Yeah, no, that's good. Again, you folks have been very good to work with, and we will continue that process. You already have a pretty good set of drawings that an engineering firm can look at and say, yeah, this was actually built to this, and that would be part of the package David's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and the core samples too, when the engineers do that, they write up a report for that, and that goes to the state also.
So for the record then, I think I'm seeing at least three members who are in agreement, maybe everybody is. Maybe a motion to at least proceed ahead with drafting an agreement with the homeowners association and also with the core of the road and determining what needs to be done.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. All right, 4B, update for 2020 Lake Street McQuam Shore feasibility study.
Yeah, I can do that. The six-member committee that's reviewing the respondents to the ad that was placed to have firms come up with a proposal to do that feasibility study, met with the proposals they submitted. There were 6 of them all together from different firms throughout the state. And we selected 2 of the 6 to invite in for interviews for that project. And I'm trying to set that up right now. I've talked to both firms and try to get a common meeting date for the committee and 2 of the people that work for those firms. So once that's done, then the committee would make a recommendation to the select board on which firm to offer the contract to. And then if they accept, then the state has a kind of a boilerplate agreement that both parties would have to agree to. And if that happens, then we go ahead with the project.
Okay.
So right now it's pending the next, the interviews that we need to do.
You don't have dates for those yet, right?
No. No, I got some prospective dates that I'll send out to the committee.
Okay, thank you, David. Item 4C, discuss proposed library town memorandum of understanding.
Joel, I think she had a question.
Whoops, I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
That's
I
okay.
just wondered what the project is.
Oh, what the project is, it's a feasibility study to improve Lake Street and McQuam Shore Road, possible widening of it for pedestrians, bike traffic, etc. Right now, it's just a feasibility study. It's very similar to what we did recently for Sidewalk up to the school. We had a feasibility study, and now we actually have grant money to put that sidewalk in, and we're going ahead with a construction project. Different one, I think, Elizabeth's possible.
We basically can't get grant money without doing this feasibility study.
Right.
That's the way this one is too, right?
Yeah, this is tied to
Sometimes
federal
it's kind of
funds.
silly how much money you have to spend for a feasibility study just to get the grant money, but it comes out in the wash, so.
Yeah, it's federal money that has some very tight restrictions on
Yeah.
it. The whole process of just selecting these firms is quite detailed. You're welcome. Discuss proposed library town memorandum of understanding. Dean and Caleb?
Hello, how is everyone?
Good, they're going great. I'm going to open it up to board members to ask you questions, etc. You can ask us questions, and I think we'll start right over there with James on the left.
We'll start with me. I've looked at this, I guess I got a few concerns, but, with some of these things we're saying we're gonna take over in this MOU, I guess my biggest question is, how are we gonna pay for it? As the town, these extra burdens that the town's gonna take on. We don't have extra money in our budget to maintain these extra things from the library.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's, go ahead.
I was gonna say, that was actually one of our questions too, because we were going through it, and when we met, at least the board representatives met with Mark and David and Heather.
Yeah.
It's like we said, oh, it's like maybe the town should pay 50% and we'll like create a capital reserve and this will work out this way. But one of the things that we had been operating under the assumption was that the town has its own like capital reserve budget, but it doesn't.
No.
And so our question was, well, it was exactly that. So it's like it's like on an annual level, we can vote to create a capital reserve for the library and we can start feeding money into that. And the idea of the town paying for 50% or like matching whatever we put into the capital reserve, great idea. But that opened up the question of like, the town doesn't have a capital reserve, so it's like, how do you handle that? It seems more on a case by case basis.
If I may, because I think, to be fair, as you said, Heather and I and David were one from our side, I kind of got put together with you guys. That was a question for us that we had to bring back to us is, how are we gonna do it? When are we gonna do it? And how do we get there? So I think it's a legitimate question. Do I have the answer? No. Do we start it next year and vote some of this to have some of this into the budget? Possibly. Is there something left over somewhere? Maybe, I don't know. But it's a legit question that I didn't have the answer for that I knew would come up. So I don't know the answer to that, but something we really need to look at.
So, yeah, good question.
Yeah, it comes down to money.
Yeah, James, I'm gonna chime in because it's the same thing, and Mark has too.
I got one other thing, but, yeah.
To me, the committee met for the first time,
Yep.
so this is round one.
Exactly.
But when I look at this list of the things the town's agreeing to, is necessary repairs to roof and windows and painting. How much of that needs to be done right now, or is it 3 or 4 years down the road? Someone needs to take a look and do a best guess of when it needs to be done and how much, because just blanketly saying we're gonna do this without budgeting for it is not prudent, I don't think.
We're going to work with Preservation Trust of Vermont they help organizations create maintenance schedules up to like 10 years out. So we want to create that so we have a much better idea in the long term of what those needs will be.
Yeah, so I just throw that out too. I think this is a start, but until we get more detail on what it's gonna cost, we're not quite ready to sign an MOU.
Oh, no, I agree. I was nowhere near that as well. It's just, it starts a rough draft. Round one, this may take us more months to get through this, but to start the discussion that you guys have asked for years, more so than last year's, how do we close this gap of who takes responsibility of what?
Yeah, we did not think this would happen quickly. It's like there's a lot of questions that need answers.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it. They just maybe more down the road.
Heather?
I would just, I was happy with the meeting, and it seemed like the town would, the town owns that building, so the town, the library is able to use the building, and so the library is responsible for what's in the building and what could, but it's our job to preserve the outer appearance for it to look nice for our community and to, you know, curb appeal. And also we split the 50/50 with the, you know, higher ticket items, and I do think it's important to get, you know, some budget for future costs so that we're not asking the voters to vote on a specific thing like that. We should be responsible for having funding for that. And maybe it means cutting some other things and putting money aside for that. We certainly don't want tax increases, but yeah, I thought it was pretty fair overall, just because, you know, we appreciate a lot of
Just to reiterate what Heather said, sorry to interrupt you, I think it's fair for us to look at it being our building. Yes, they are using it, but I think for us, it's our building to make sure the integrity of the structure of the building, we have some responsibility. Not that Caleb or the trustees wouldn't, but I've seen some things in my eyes in the past year that have let beyond where they should have been before they were repaired. So that's where I'm saying, let us as a board take some responsibility and take that on ourselves to where we have maybe a 1, 3, 4, 5 year plan to keep up on that infrastructure stuff of that, instead of just letting it go, then it's too late, then it costs the taxpayers even more money. So that's where we were going, I think is kind of where we went here.
And we very much want to create that maintenance schedule to have like a full inventory of exactly. I sent you the engineer's report
Yes.
survey, so that we started that process at least.
So there is some things that need to be done right off. We talked about that before, something to do with the roof in the back or compressor or something.
Yeah, there's some
I
cracked
don't know what's
windows.
going on with the roof in the back there. That is a big old question mark. Trying to figure out what's going on with that roof. The furnaces are reaching the end of their life cycle. That's our major concern for like the next 5 years.
How soon do you think you can get that maintenance schedule?
It depends on PTV. I'm sorry. I've been making my own maintenance schedule. I'm just not sure that it is as comprehensive as it needs to be. And so I'd like to work with PTV, and I forget the name of the gentleman, but it's like a couple of months ago we were emailing and he was going to set up a time before he got locked down wherever he was. And he was going to come and work on a more comprehensive maintenance schedule, because I'm not fully confident in my ability to trust that I'm not missing anything.
Because what I would like is to see that maintenance schedule, other input that you folks might have on things that need to be done, so we can start throwing some numbers at it and start developing that.
Who's responsible for making sure the maintenance schedule? I mean, who checks the maintenance? Is it librarians that check to see what's wrong with things, or whose responsibility is that?
I mean, in the past, it's been, the library has pretty much taken care of issues at the library with regard to facility. It was never written in stone, and that's why we're trying to get this down in stone and then decide whether the town takes on more ownership. We own the building, but whether the town gets more involved with the maintenance and upkeep. You know, when the columns had to be fixed before, the town didn't budget that separately, the select board didn't, that was taken care of through the library. So now we're getting into kind of a change, and for some reasons that make sense, or you could easily write it in here and say, you know what, library gets to use the building, they have full responsibility for upkeep and maintenance, and the town just walks around once a year and says whether they're maintaining it the way they should be. It could go that far over here. It could go way over here where the town fixes everything that's broken other than, you know, the shelving and the carpet or whatever, you know, but somewhere in between is where I think we want to go, and I think we can get there, but it's, you know, to answer your
I'm
question.
just wondering, as far as maintenance, are there people that we have on staff that would be able to take it? I mean, they could show me stuff, I'm not gonna know what went wrong. If it hasn't gone wrong in my house, I probably just don't know what it is, but we have people on staff that.
We don't.
You know.
That we have a town office building,
What
so.
happens when we
some-
have something like that?
What's that?
So when something needs maintenance,
If we have plumbing, we call a plumber.
Yeah.
If we have something wrong with the heating, we have somebody we know that we call and they come and fix the heating. We wanted to fix windows for a long time and we've never totally taken care of that yet. And it needs to get taken care of. The roof is intact, but we just talk about it and try to find an expert to come give us
Okay, so you
guidance.
hire experts,
Yeah.
okay.
Other than the highway crew, we don't have a maintenance crew.
But that's a good question of, that we should add of, at the end of the year, would hypothetically the town do a walkthrough of the library and they just to do an assay of what its current state is, or would the director and the librarians do that and send a report to the town about its physical condition every year or something like that? It's like that.
Should be, to me, it should be a joint walk around in here because it should be done in cooperation and in agreement while they're walking.
That would make sense, something that.
You know, that's one thing I would say to the committee is take that as a note and add it to the potential agreement.
One of the other, oh, maybe Mark's gonna say, oh, wait.
No, I'm sorry, just Sandy's been wanting to ask a question, she may.
So just a couple of things. Liz Gamache, Brendan St. Albans is the director of Preservation Trust Vermont. She's very accessible if you want to give her a call. We work with her. And in support of the library, I think it's one of the nicest looking buildings that we have in town. And they service so many people in the town, in the village now. If you get their newsletter, it's amazing the things that they are doing.
And it's one of the first places that people visit when they move here.
That is
Did you go there, Priscilla? Have you been to
I
that?
have not been.
You
there.
haven't?
I talked to.
Do it online, do it online.
So that's all I had to say.
All right, thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
All right, Mark, did you have something to say?
No, I just comment again, it's a start. It's nothing solid here. I think it was a great first effort because I think we were there and I think maybe we're here.
Yeah, now we have a framework and like bouncing it back and forth is great.
I just think the town really should take some responsibility of that building, and that's just me.
Also, we considered maybe having a select board member, how we have, there's a select board member that goes to a Swanton Rec meeting, an economic development meeting. We thought maybe we could have a select board member go to a library trustee meeting as well, just so that at least one of us is kind of in the know of what's going on in that.
I think that's fair, and I would say add it in here and we can discuss it as we refine this further. I think that's a very good idea.
One of the major things that I would just want you all to think about is the possibility of the full-time librarians becoming town employees or at least being eligible for town benefits, such as health insurance. Because at the moment, we can't pay for it. We've done some research about what it would cost for us to just do it ourselves. And it would be cheaper if the town would do it. It's like, for us, it looks like it would be about $7,000 to $8,000 per person, whereas the town, I think it was about $5,000 per person, David? 6,000? 6,000 per person. There are libraries that have a hybrid system in which the full-time staff are town employees, but they're exempted from town policies so that they can continue operating as librarians. There are other towns that they're not town employees, but they still get benefits. I'm not sure how that works legally. There are different ways that libraries and towns can create that relationship. So it's doable. It's just a matter that, from our point of view, it would be great for the long-term health of getting a librarian to be director of the library and stay for 5+ years. And second, again, as I said, it would be cheaper if we could find a way for it to work through the town. And I don't know if there's a possibility of us just putting it on the ballot and asking people whether the library can raise that money, or putting it in the general budget as a ballot item, and like one or the other, but it's a major factor to the future health of the library.
My recommendation is the committee gets together and discusses maintenance more, and begins to start making the list, the cost, because I guarantee every time you get back in here, we're going to talk cost, and do the same thing with the issues regarding personnel.
And it's like a wedding list. It's like there are always more guests.
That I understand the whole reason to want to do it. I also understand, comments about budget. Everyone's concerned about budget. COVID-19 has only made the budget issue more prevalent for 2020, probably into 2021. But we can throw it out there and have more discussion about it, but we're gonna need figures of, this is how much it's gonna increase the general budget? Or do we just say, come into agreement that they become town employees, but they're still paid for out of the budget that's voted for the library? So there's ways to get there possibly, but that's what we gotta look at, and someone's gotta give us the menu. Here's the 3 options on how to handle the employees and improve what's going on. Or there's always the do nothing option and it stays the way it is. But we gotta have that with numbers.
Is at least the short term or short to midterm plan for the original committee to meet again? Or what do you think the next step is, at least that we as the library can do for you?
I think the committee should meet again. And the discussion tonight has been on the building, and the cost of repair and maintain the building, and the employee issue.
Okay, so maybe I write you 3, or I can CC all of you, but after I maybe get at least a basic maintenance schedule up with some, at least. Okay.
And we can brainstorm our own, and present some more thoughts when we get back together. That sounds fun.
Does that work, folks?
For me.
This is gonna be a work in progress. Several
Gary,
meetings, several meetings.
did you have anything, Gary, to add?
No, it was answered.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Caleb. It's great to see the library being open more days and stuff. Good news. We're getting there.
We're getting there. We're almost like 5 days a week.
That's excellent. The other day, I shouldn't say the other day, several weeks ago, I was questioned by somebody and then why we weren't doing a little faster. And then I'm watching NBC News the other night, and then over in northern New York, 1 out of 30 had even opened up for people coming in. So you're moving ahead of them and getting closer to the 5 days.
I put it on newsletters because bouncing after, it's fine here, and then outside Vermont is just this wasteland of COVID. It's like, oh my God, everyone stay away.
Well, that's something I think everybody right now
Yeah,
wants that.
we're watching very closely. I put in, just for everyone to know, because we're watching closely, there's every possibility that we might close again if things get worse. Hopefully that will be the case, but we apologize if there's a horrible yo-yo effect of us open and close and open and close. Hopefully that won't be the case, but we're looking into it.
I think it's important to also mention that you can get a library card and access the Green Mountain Consortium.
Online, you can just get a library card, and you can use Overdrive, which in a very monopolistic fashion has just bought RB Digital, which was the other big digital book provider, so they're going to get even bigger, which is bad for monopolies, good for more titles, so give and take.
I love that, because you don't have to return the book. It just goes away in 2 weeks, much easier. Yeah.
Anything else for Caleb? Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
We're making progress. Item 5A, discuss potential social media policy for town officials and boards. The last meeting, we talked about getting the VLCT model social media policy. David got a copy of that, sent it around to everybody. I don't know how many have had a chance to review it. It's only been out a couple days that he passed it around. One thing I look at this, and this is really designed whether we want to set up a social media page and who's going to run it, and what are the rules and the regulations. And I may be wrong, but I don't think the town of Swanton is big enough right now, nor has the desire or the appetite to start a social media page. And next thing you know, we're gonna have to hire somebody to sit there and monitor that page. What I think we were talking about, and we are waiting to hear back from our lawyer, is the whole issue of our town employees using social media in the privacy of their home, and what protections do they have under the law for freedom of speech, and what isn't protected. And we have not had that guidance yet. I think that's more what we were looking at, and maybe we can do a very small policy if we want to, once we have that information. But as far as starting a social media page and that sort of
I
thing,
noticed that as well, that it was just basically about how to start a page and how to behave. And there's a couple things that made me nervous about, like, if people, start swearing, we can't delete it. We have to let them speak as long as it's related to the content that was posted. And I just, concerned with that being a little wily. So, yeah, that was, but it did seem that it was all wrapped around having a municipality page, which I think is a great idea, but who's gonna run that? That's a lot of work to update that, and, David doesn't have a social media account, so it would have to be somebody else, and who would have time for that?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And next thing you know, we're gonna talk about hiring somebody part-time to maintain it, and
Yeah.
unless there's a real appetite for that, I don't think we wanna go there.
If I may, just to reiterate what you both said, this pertains to us having our own social media platform. There's only two types that we'd run. A government speech where it would only be information for us to put on where the public can't comment, or a limited public forum where we can put on and they can comment, but as Heather said, you can't delete what they say, and you're back to open meeting laws and all that stuff again, where I just don't think at this time we really should be getting into this, but I think we should stick to our own employees and wait for that ruling of what we can go down on that path on, is where I'm not in favor of having our social media page at all at this point.
But there could be other options that we could make the website more interactive, where people could comment on stuff on our
They already can
website.
do that. There's a comment.
Oh, there's a comment box that can do that?
Yeah, I get emails every now and then.
Oh, no, I mean like the library,
Well,
library.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, if we go down that route, then that's a social media.
Yeah.
Sure, right.
It's not named Facebook, it's not a Twitter account.
That's
but
why
it's-
we have emails. If they want to email David with a question for the town.
They want to give us
that's-
a comment, they send an email with a comment and state their name and where they're from and that sort of thing. But if we get into the comments where we're responding back to the comments that way, then that's social media. To me, if people want to send us comments, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later, we're going to get an email, and then we can say we're either going to answer that or we're not, and how do we answer it? But that could become a,
Yeah, any email or any communication to any town official is a public document. So if you get swear words that you object to coming in, anybody can request that and read it.
Sandy?
So, I'm an old lady, and anything that prevents people from getting together, talking face to face, is dangerous. I think now that Facebook is tearing Swanton apart, and so much of communication is lost if you don't see the body language, the tone of voice.
I agree.
I just hope that we all keep that in mind, that nothing can replace face-to-face communication. You can't hide behind
Well, sometimes it's
a
easier.
keyboard.
Or you have to feel
Sometimes it's
welcome.
easier, it's less intimidating to reach out to somebody that way, and, not everybody has the same comfort level. You're a very strong woman that's able to just come in the room, and, we appreciate it. But I get what you're saying, body language is important and as well, but I do find that sometimes meetings are intimidating for people on social media. But yeah, I agree, things can get out of hand easily. I hope they will.
okay. Board members, what I'm hearing is, right now, we're not looking at starting our own separate social media.
Correct.
And we'll wait till we get some more legal guidance, and then we can go ahead and what we will or won't do as far as employees, and maybe giving them a little training on what's acceptable and what's not, because freedom of speech is important, but there's certain things that there may be some limits.
Without us having a policy, it's very hard for us to try to enforce something that's not there to enforce, so.
Yep. All right. Finish up there. Item 6, community and economic development updates. Elizabeth?
So I passed out before the meeting, and I did send it via email, some updates, and I will run through a few of them for you. So we talked at the last meeting, St. Albans has a Downtown Dollars program, which is basically a gift card that you can use to participate in businesses. You buy it for $10, and you have to use your $10. You can't use $5 here, $5 there. They kept it very simple. So we're looking at doing, if there's any interest in doing something like that here. I already have the logo for it, which would be a little swan with a shopping bag, but we haven't got any further than that. Did talk to the chamber last night, so we will see if there's any interest with the chamber members to do this. There was some interest on Facebook before the page got shut down without doing it, but it's just a matter of seeing what interest. Because we don't want to design something that nobody's interested in. That just doesn't make sense. St. Albans, they had a lot of interest at the beginning, and I think with the holidays coming, usually having a gift card option to give somebody, $10 to Stampers or to the House of Pizza it could be a good way to drive business. So we are working on that. Darcy Benoit, who many of you know, she's a local businesswoman. She's interested in maybe doing a punch card. If you get your card punched at 5 businesses or at the same business 5 times, you get something. We don't know what that something is yet, but that's another option that we're looking at, and we talked about that at the chamber last night. It's all about ways to drive business, particularly because a lot of our businesses have restrictions, COVID-related restrictions. So how can we drive business? The other thing I would like to look at, and I did that a little bit today, is how can we encourage businesses to get an online platform. If you are 2 people and you're struggling to keep your business, you don't have time to do research on how to build a website or whatever. What is out there that businesses can plug into to do some online sales? So that's kind of the other thing that we're looking at. And then we talked about maybe having an app instead of having a physical card that you need to carry around, because we all got tons of cards that we lose. Maybe there's an app that we can use, so we're looking at that option. Update on social distancing signs. We purchased 30 of them, and I put out, there's 3 along the rec path. I realized I need to put one at the end where the depot is. I put one up by the town offices, and it's still there. And I gave one to Betsy to put at the rec commission. She wanted it there. It's just to remind people to stay 6 feet apart and to wear a mask when you're out. I'm going to go around tomorrow and see what's still there, and then put the one up by the depot. I'm open to other suggestions about where to put them, keeping in mind I'm trying to stay out of right-of-way areas. I put one at Swanton Beach as well. So I'm going to drive around and see what's still there, and if anybody has any ideas where to put one, I'm happy to. We have 15 of the stakes, and I actually have some in my garage from another project, so I've been putting them in the ground. That's kind of hard when the ground it hadn't rained in a few weeks, and I was wearing flip-flops, not the brightest idea. But anyway, they're up. So if anybody has any ideas, I'll happily take them and put them up, because we have plenty of them. And they are 2-sided, so you can see both sides. Leader evaporator. The governor is supposed to put out his press release tomorrow, so look for that. We're very excited. And for some folks, there is a state program, it's the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG, which makes it easier. And there are funds that you can apply for to be used for economic development and some other things. And in the winter, the town of Swanton applied for $1 million to help Leader Evaporator through some hard times. And as will be announced tomorrow, we did receive $1 million, and that would be used as a deferred loan to help Leader Evaporator, who has done an amazing job of turning things around, but they're looking to do some reorganization and diversification so that they're not so reliant on seasonality of the maple sugar business. So we're excited about that. And I'm looking forward to finally getting that press release because they're so busy with the economic recovery grants that they're behind their normal process. I have emailed asking for the grant agreement and the documents so we can at least get started on that because that's a several months process. We're not getting that money tomorrow, so I'm trying to get a jump start on that. So hopefully I'll hear from her soon. The update on the Swanton business sit down. So I had an idea, and I think we talked about this at the last meeting. I wanted to set aside some time each week, and I picked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Monday's the first day of the week, and people are busy, and Fridays people are thinking about the weekend. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have several times throughout the day where people can call in or use Zoom, and it's for Swanton businesses and sole proprietors. Talk about whatever. I don't have an agenda. It's just, do you need help with resources? Are you having issues just that you want to discuss? And if there's any information that I can give a business, if they just want to vent about whatever, that works too. It's a way to connect with businesses, and I can ask them, are you interested in a buy local program? Or what can I do, or what can Swanton do to help them succeed? That started today, didn't have anybody, but I'm not surprised because the letters just went out Thursday, but I did go ahead and start it today, so hopefully we'll start getting a response to that. And then just a couple of other things. I do have a couple of visual aids. This is a save the date. We are having the 3rd annual ice cream social. Are you happy? It's in black and white because I didn't have a color printer at work. The 3rd annual ice cream social. It is free. We'll probably, in the past, we've done scoops in cones. We will probably do cups because of COVID. So we don't want hands all over everything. And that is scheduled for Saturday, September 12th from 3 to 4. It is free for Swanton residents, so come down to Marble Mill Park on Saturday, September 12th, 3 to 4. This is followed by, this follows, we're doing a town-wide sidewalk audit, and most of the sidewalks are in the village. We figured most of the town-maintained sidewalks are close to the village. What we want to do is get community members together. We'll set up teams, and we'll pick parts of Spring Street, First Street, whichever, and we will do a community-wide inventory. We're not going to get it done all in one day, don't get me wrong, but it's a good way to start, and then kind of the idea is to end up at the ice cream social because it'll be hot and we'll be tired and it'll be time to eat some ice cream. So this is part of a sidewalk inventory where we can identify gaps in the sidewalks and where there is maintenance, so we can help the highway department in the town and the public works in the village identify where there are gaps and prioritize projects. So that starts September 12th from 1 to 3, and then we'll end up, hopefully everybody will come to the ice cream social from 3 to 4.
It's actually kind of fun.
It is fun. We had a little training.
Big team had a there for Elizabeth.
It was cool. And last but not least, if you haven't done the census yet, go to 2020census.gov and do your census Swanton counts. That's my public service announcement for the day.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you very much. Good job on getting those signs. We could have a lot of discussion about whether we should put signs out and how active should we be, but I think it's very important, good night, folks, that we keep up the whole education process with the COVID-19. I think you can watch the news every day now and realize we are far from being done with the COVID-19. Any questions for Elizabeth?
Nope, thank you.
All right, expenditures, general orders, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion for those.
June 17th to July 21st. Do I hear a second?
I'll second them.
Motion been made second to approve the general orders June 17th to July 21st, 2020. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just got one question. Is there any more expenditures coming, do you know, for the teen center, or is that it?
Nope, that's it. Basically, they did
There is money left from the allocation
Yep.
because they didn't use it all, but basically they're done now. They had to move everything out and clean it, so that was the last of their expenses.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, state aye.
Aye, sorry.
Opposed? So moved. Everybody need to get up and shake for just a minute here?
I was about to say something when you said that, so caught me off guard.
All right, highway orders.
I'll make the motion to accept the highway orders dated June 17th, 2020 to July 21st, 2020.
There's a second?
that.
All right, second by Gary. Any discussion?
Thank you for
Good
coming.
night.
Thanks for coming, folks. Have a good night.
Going once, going twice on highway discussion. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Payroll orders, same dates.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll orders June 17th through July 21st.
Here a second?
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 8, Highway Department, not too much on updates. We are starting to fill the sand sheds. Hard to believe when the weather's 95 and almost 100, but we have started hauling some sand and prep for this winter coming up. Hoping to stripe the roads end of July, talked to the striper, ordering the paint, and we might get close to 12-mile stripe, so should be pretty good
I
once.
see the state's been out doing them, so.
State's been doing them, gonna find out from the state, South River, they did not do yet. I didn't take a look to see if they did BB. But hopefully they're not gonna skip South
I
River.
believe BB was done. Somebody made the comment to me today that BB was done.
BB was done?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to check with the state on South River.
South River is all done and there's nothing going up toward me.
I don't know if they're using some different yellow paint this year, but I don't know if you guys have noticed down in the square, where the state did the yellow lines. I don't know if it was wet or not dried. It's just like 10 feet wide in the road. It's just tire tracks. And somebody from work.
Someone drove through one was wet.
Oh, I mean, it's bad down there, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
We should get the dump truck back in just a couple days with a new body on it. It turns out the piston was leaking, so they did give us a price with the original quote to change the piston, and it's less than what we could get it done somewhere else, so I said, let's go ahead and get it done, get the thing ready to go. Unless you got any questions about what they're doing. I think overall, things have been going pretty good this year. Nice to get the paving done early.
Joel, did you get any response, or Kevin get a response from Jason Hodgins on that dump body and the tires?
Yeah, they're supposedly worked out a deal.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah,
I thought we
didn't hear the
could.
exact date they're transferring stuff, but yeah.
I thought we could save something there, yeah.
Yep, yep, no, Kevin told me he had a conversation with him and they were gonna swap metal for taking some tires.
Good.
Yep. All right, any other necessary business? Discuss ACO computer and printer.
Well, there's a request to purchase it. Elizabeth needs a printer, and we're using her laptop here, so it's town property, it's up to the board to decide.
You mean a request from Derek to purchase it? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Oh, Derek wants
I
to
didn't-
purchase the
yeah.
computer.
that he's been using at the town lab.
Do we need a motion to,
But what would we charge him? Because the cost of the computer would go down in value.
I don't think we want to get in the business of selling a computer to somebody that is town property.
Yeah. I mean,
Just have them return it.
I agree.
I don't think we need to get into that.
I mean, either that, we've got to buy one for her to use, or continue to
Yeah.
use her own. I don't think that's fair.
Just return it.
And then you'll be able to use it? Or just the printer?
Well, we can use the laptop for here instead of using mine, and then I can use the
Yeah.
printer.
So it works out well.
And we also use a laptop in the February budget presentation.
Do we need a motion for that, David, or?
I don't think so.
It's up to you. Yeah.
I think,
You want to put it on record, yeah.
Yeah, let's.
I'll
do it
make a
for-
motion that we ask the animal control officer to return the computer and the printer and whatever else belongs to the town with that. ASAP, basically.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second that the ACO return the computer and printer. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Under 9B, which I didn't say when we were doing agenda review, so we're not gonna do anything or take any action tonight, but I need somebody on this board to step up and be an HRO rep, because when Karen left, we never appointed another HRO rep, so we can do that at the next meeting. Can you take that as an agenda item, please?
What's it, HR role?
Human resources?
Resources, yeah.
Personnel.
So if there's personnel issues, that sort of thing, we
Yeah.
can look at one person, ask them to get us some data, and then we can decide what we're gonna do.
I think that James wanted to volunteer for that, right?
What's that? Volunteer for that? Sure.
We'll discuss that at the next
Yeah.
meeting, but I just wanted to get that out there. And any other possible appointments that have changed because of Karen's departure? All right, public comments, round 2. Anybody? Sir?
I didn't sign up, but I can fill my name in later if you want.
No, because again, the small numbers, it became a moot point, so.
Van Joe, future, let me see here, future town health officer. I was wondering if there's a difference or if there's some kind of, you said you were working on a job description for some of these. Is there a difference between the deputy health officer and the town health officer?
No, the deputy would just fill in if the health officer is mandatory.
Okay.
Deputy is not.
And a couple questions, if you don't mind. I understand that there's I don't know if it's a how-to manual on doing these.
Select board?
The select board manual. Is that open to the public?
On,
What are you talking about this?
Yeah, I have one in my office that we look at.
Okay.
It costs $45, so we can't really give that away.
Got it. Sure. And the last question.
just a second, so I understand I didn't quite understand your question. What, was it regarding the select board?
No,
There's
manual there.
There's a select board manual.
Right, and, okay, and then I was gonna say, like, the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns,
They sell it for $45.
right, but they might have a lot of other information, and we have some of those training slides that have been used before, so we ought to be able to get you some info without that,
About $45.
yeah, without the $45.
I don't know, is there something online too?
There's gotta be.
Probably something online, yeah.
Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns is a great resource for stuff. You have to buy the manual, but you might
Did you
find
pay
stuff.
$25 for this?
No, I copied that.
Okay.
It's, how many pages are in there?
There's a
Somewhere
lot.
around-
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Just get on the line.
They're like 238.
If we've got something we can let you borrow too, we will do that. If you will just sign for it and return it to us, we will gladly.
I'll start a copy shop.
There you go.
For fun.
Okay. And my last question, when I got connected with the Swanton Arts Council a little over a year ago, there was a mention of painting the snowplow. I don't know if this was the group
Correct.
who pitched that idea, if that had faded away.
It's faded away in the sense that what we did is we painted it all nice orange and then put 2 of our decals, very large decals. It's up
I see it, yeah.
by the garage, so that's where we left that.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
I have something, Joe. Tomorrow is Swanton's tree warden's birthday, Hank Lambert, so I just want to wish him a happy birthday.
Thank you, David. Happy birthday, 1 day in advance, Hank. Chief, any comments tonight? I appreciate you coming here and joining us, and
No, Vermont League of Cities and Towns has the select board handbook available in a PDF right on their website.
It's $45.
No, you can, I got it right here.
PDF.
Pull it
Should be able
up.
to download it.
Oh,
So you can download if you wanted to print it yourself, but you can read it as a PDF off their webpage.
Thank you.
and I'm available if you got questions too.
Awesome, thank you guys.
I thought it was there, I just checked to make sure.
Thank you, Joey. All right, upcoming events, the next planning commission meeting Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020 at 7 PM by teleconference. Next DRB meeting Thursday, July 24th, 2020 at 6 PM by teleconference. Next select board meeting Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, in the Village Complex. We'll be doing that both in person and by teleconference. If we think we're gonna have a larger crowd, we may opt to have it up at the town garage, but right now we'll continue here. Tonight we were very close. If everybody had come who said they were coming tonight, we would have had to postpone this meeting until next week. So I'm very pleased we were able to get the meeting in, very pleased. It was a very civil meeting, and I look forward to
If I may,
future
Joe,
discussions. Absolutely.
I was pleased to see that the room was full. Really much appreciated. Even what small contact or information you people brought, it means a lot, at least to me, to see people out here, that we're just not having a meeting amongst the five of us and not having people here. So for me, thank you guys. Good meeting.
And I would point out, we have had 1 or 2 people on Zoom as well.
Yep, good.
Great.
All right, might as well just, if any other board members got comments they want to share before I bring up the topic of executive session.
Are we gonna go correspondence or?
Oh,
Oh, we
It's
missed
not even
that.
on here.
did I miss it?
It's not.
It's not on this.
It's not on here, that's why.
What's that?
Your correspondence is not on the list
Oh.
agenda.
Yeah, I guess. Joel asked for that, so,
But I wonder if it.
Yeah, it's usually a recurrent item.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
you must-
and usually the word is correspondence, either we have some or we don't.
Right.
I specifically sent you some things that I thought we should have a discussion about
Yeah,
for
there-
correspondence. So, before we talk about executive session, we should talk about correspondence.
I agree.
So what I sent to David today was the emails that I believe everybody has received and had a chance to read. I know a couple of select board members said thank you for the email and a couple other comments. My question is, do we send an official response? This is correspondence to us. It came via email. Kind of gets into the whole social media discussion. This is not any different than getting a formal letter. Someday we could get easily overrun by it, but we have one here from Jennifer Bailey. We have one from Aaron Gagne. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I hear a lot of different ways I pronounce it.
Yeah, you're
Gagne.
right.
I hope I got it correct. And then another one, David, we got from Crystal Lampman, offering up some assistance, which I think there's some meetings taking place, so we don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time on that. But at least the first two, do we provide an official response or not? And I throw that out to the board members for comment.
I think we need to have some kind of response regardless of what the email is. Whether we have one response, two response, or just one dedicated response. I think it's important to let the people know that we've heard them, or at least we've acknowledged their email. As much as some of these emails, in my opinion, don't correlate to us, I think it's important that we acknowledge that we received their email.
Okay, I'm gonna take the first ones from Jennifer Bailey. I do not happen to know Jennifer Bailey. She said she's a Swanton Town resident. I'm assuming she is.
She's gonna need us before.
Okay,
One of her streets was absorbed as a road that we plow.
okay. Again, I'm just letting people know I don't know Jennifer, so and she has one specific request, I believe, in here, and it's the last paragraph. I'm writing today to urge the Swanton Selectboard to issue a formal statement condemning hate and the actions of the Swanton Village trustees. The Select Board should issue a statement of equity, a promise to promote the rights of all, and a formal apology to the families of color who reside in Swanton. As I stated earlier, I believe there's racism in Swanton, and I believe there's biases. I am not interested at all chastising another board for what happened at their meeting. I would encourage people that heard things at that meeting and watched to go talk to the people that were in that meeting and made those comments. And I think, it was part of my opening statement, but I didn't read it because the numbers of people here weren't as many. That kind of dialogue would help solve some of the problem than some of the things we're reading in here So, you know, I think a polite response is thank you for this letter. We are not gonna issue any formal statement unless three of you think we're want to. I don't think it's gonna help at all in solving any of the problems here. And that was not our issue to take on to begin with.
Exactly.
That is a Swanton Arts Council art wall. I loved them. Every time driving down the street, I'd turn my head both directions to see what had changed. And a few months ago, it got ugly. There were some chances to get that under control, and it didn't happen. And the village took a stand. But for us to go and condemn the village and stuff, I don't think is correct. And I think in a letter, we should politely say that. I don't want to say anything other than we support dialogue and improving race relations in this town, improving the relationships between the boards and the community, but I don't want us to be writing any
I agree wholeheartedly.
letter condemning the village. That's my comments.
I think you already answered that, Heather.
I did respond to it.
You did.
Yeah, I called her. Yeah. I did respond to Jen Bailey. Sure. You know,
Mark did too.
my question is, this correspondence, is this open to the public?
Yes.
Yeah.
So every email that somebody writes?
Yeah.
Any email that somebody sends to the,
Can
is
be
public.
shared.
Absolutely.
Okay. That was what I was
Just like any email I send to you folks
Some of the
is,
stuff, I can talk to the person on the email, but I wasn't sure if I could talk to other people about issues we're facing in Swanton.
absolutely. That's what our job is to
Okay.
discuss and try to work and make a better community.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm done on that one. What do you want to do? You want someone to draft a formal letter and then we share it and see if we're good with it or not?
I think it's fair. I mean, I know some of us have responded to a couple of these. I know Heather and I did. I weren't sure of others, whether we wanted to do another one, or I think we just need to do something. If you want to do one formal one and
Well,
generic.
We probably
that's fine.
should write something,
the-
seeing we discussed it,
Yep.
so the people that sent these letters know we did talk about it.
Yeah, the way I look at it is just saying thank you for the letter
No,
doesn't answer what
it's not
they're
enough.
demanding us to do.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
So I take this as like a formal letter asking us to do something.
Yeah.
We should have the discussion and respond to it. All right, who wants to draft the letter?
David, want to draft a letter?
Well, I need some ideas.
You and I can talk. You and I can talk on that. All right, David and I will work that one. Seems I don't have to do health officer for at least a few more days.
That's right, there you go.
All right, the next one came from Aaron. I think it's very similar to the other one that we received. And pretty much the same final paragraph. I'm writing today to urge the Swanton Selectboard to issue a formal statement condemning hate and the actions of the Swanton Village trustees. The Select Board should issue a statement of equity, a promise to promote the rights of all, and a formal apology to the families of color who reside in Swanton. And if what we said in the previous discussion, to me, should pertain here, and we can write a very similar letter.
Yeah.
Heather, you okay with that? Okay. Crystal Lampman sent the note. Didn't go to all the select board members, but it was shared by David as it should have been. And I believe the village is already meeting, and were you meeting on that same group? So I think if everyone's good, we let Elizabeth go to those meetings and we see what develops. And see what kind of dialogues we can get going, because to me, there's a few options. There's some formal, not formal, but some public forums that could be had, where people can express thoughts and opinions, and someone help try to move the discussion forward. And then I think there's some formal training that could take place, and I think those are discussions also that I know the village was leading. I think you've sat in on some of that, Chief, and I don't speak for the whole select board here, but I believe most of you would agree with me that if there's some formal training opportunities that we attend them as time permits, and we get some of our employees to attend them as well, because I think it will do nothing but benefit the town of Swanton in improving on those issues.
I like the idea.
So I don't think we need to formally respond to Crystal, but I think it's already happening. If everybody's good with that, then,
I personally reached out to all three of these people and discussed it with them.
Good.
So, I mean, but you can be formal.
well, I think it's important we send a formal response to the first two letters which requested us to do something.
Yes.
And I think the other one has taken place, and we'll get some updates from Elizabeth and decide what we can do to help promote some of the things that they're looking at doing.
And we have the equity, racial equity and diverse.
There is not a task force.
No, not for SEP. I know that Sandy was the first one.
Oh, there is, the governor has his equity and diversity task force.
Diversity task force. And I know that Chief was interested in getting involved in that as well, and I appreciate that. And again, anybody that's interested in getting involved in that, Sandy Kilborn is a good contact to reach out to.
I'm very much interested, so I'll let her know. Anybody else? Feel free to. Okay?
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. Executive session, do we need one tonight?
I have nothing.
I have other correspondence. Should I choose those?
What,
They were sent to me individually.
I would prefer that if that's the case, that everyone gets them so they have a chance to see them.
Okay.
It should be on the agenda.
And if
Just
it's,
requests for different things in our community. So maybe I don't need to read them.
yeah, I would recommend work with David and any one of us and helping to solve what those are. And if it needs to be an agenda item, we bring it up as an agenda item.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, thank you, Heather. Executive session, anything for executive session?
I don't want anything. Unless you want to see that.
Oh, I'd like you to pass out that so we have it to take it home as a homework, because I think it's great that you've got that started. And David's gonna put it on as agenda item regarding the possible policy for attire. Anything else, folks?
Do we need cover letters?
Cover letters for what?
Like these extra pages, there's like 5 extra pages.
It helps to
Okay.
pick things out. Otherwise, those emails all look alike because they're small print.
Fair motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made by James, seconded by Mark to adjourn. Any discussion? Hear none, all those in favor of adjournment, please state aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you very much, everybody.